The world was shocked by the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, a move that threatened to unsettle Europe and cause a world war. Among those countries responding has been Great Britain, which has slapped Russia with sanctions. Find out in this video how the UK has responded to Russia and what Elon Musk's warning is all about. Russia's invasion of Ukraine was always going to happen anyway, as Russia has been building forces at the border with Ukraine. Many who have not been following the report might not be aware of this fact, but if you have been following the news, you would no doubt have been familiar with this report. As of January, Russia had already beefed up 150,000 strong military forces at the border. The military force beefed up at the border was fully armed. Western nations tried to warn Russia to desist from the invasion, but this did not work out well, and as of today, Russia has launched a devastating attack on Ukraine, a European democracy of 44 million people, bombarding its cities and closing in on the capital, Kyiv, prompting a mass exodus of refugees. But why did Russia's authoritarian leader tear up a peace deal with his neighbor and unleash what European leaders have labeled as Putin's war? He has shattered peace in Europe and thrown the continent's entire security structure into jeopardy. In a pre-dawn TV address on February 24th, President Putin declared Russia could not feel safe, develop, and exist because of what he claimed was a constant threat from modern Ukraine. Immediately, airports and military headquarters were attacked. Then tanks and troops rolled in from Russia. Russian annexed Crimea and its ally Belarus. Big cities have been shelled, neighborhoods razed to the ground, and millions of Ukrainians have fled their homes. And yet Russia bans the terms war or even invasion, threatening journalists with jail if they do. For President Putin, this is a special military operation. Many of his justifications for war were false or irrational. He claimed his goal was to protect people subjected to bullying and genocide and aim for the demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine. There has been no genocide in Ukraine. It is a vibrant democracy led by a president who is Jewish. How could I be a Nazi, said Vladimir Zelensky, who has likened Russia's onslaught to Nazi Germany's invasion in World War II. Ukraine's chief rabbi and the Auschwitz Memorial have also rejected Russia's slur. President Putin has frequently accused Ukraine of being taken over by extremists ever since its pro-Russian president, Viktor Yanukovych, was ousted in 2014 after months of protest against his rule. But Ukraine has not lurched to the right. It has turned to the west, and Russia's leader aims to reverse that. Those protests broke out when Moscow pressed Ukraine's president not to sign a 2013 association treaty with the EU. Russia retaliated in 2014 by seizing the southern region of Crimea and triggering a rebellion in the east, backing separatists who have fought Ukrainian forces in an 8-year war that has claimed 14,000 lives. Ukraine has made it clear it wants to join the European Union and the Western Defensive Alliance, NATO, but the Kremlin will not have it. In late 2021, Russia began deploying big numbers of troops close to Ukraine's borders. President Putin repeatedly denied planning an invasion, but then he scrapped the 2015 Minsk peace deal for the east and recognized areas under rebel control as an independent. It is already clear Vladimir Putin seeks to take control of Ukraine and overthrow its democratically elected government. President Zelensky said he has been warned that the enemy has designated me as target number 1. My family is target number 2. Russia's stated goal is that Ukraine is freed from oppression and cleansed of the Nazis. Under this false narrative of a Ukraine run by fascists since 2014, Mr. Putin has spoken of bringing to court those who committed numerous bloody crimes against civilians. He has denied aiming to occupy Ukraine, and he rejected a UK accusation before the war that he was plotting to install a pro-Kremlin puppet, but then he said there would be no invasion either. One unconfirmed intelligence report says he aims to split the country in two, but the UK and other Western nations have condemned the Russian government's unprovoked and premeditated war against Ukraine. Also, the UK Kingdom has since its invasion stepped up its support for Ukraine. The UK government, as of today, is providing a range of economic, humanitarian, and defensive military assistance to Ukraine. The UK government is in total providing additional humanitarian aid for vital medical supplies and other help, including supporting non-governmental organization responders by match funding £25 million of public donations to the Emergency Disasters Committee, in addition to providing defensive military aid to Ukraine, continuing to work with international partners to supply vital weapons to the Ukrainian armed forces, changing the immigration system to support British nationals and their families who usually live in Ukraine, and Ukrainians in the UK and their families. We will also offer a new sponsorship scheme for Ukrainians without any family ties to the UK, the UK said. The UK has also enacted crippling sanctions in response to the UK's economy. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss announced over 370 more Russian and Belarusian sanctions on March 15th, which means by the end of the day, the UK would have designated over 1,000 individuals and entities since the invasion under the Russian sanctions regime. I know you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe to Glancy Tech to get more updates from us. The historic sanctions include more Russian oligarchs and their family members, Putin's political allies, and propagandists. The UK is sanctioning over 370 more individuals, 51 of whom are oligarchs and their family members. The vast majority of today's designations made possible under the Economic Crime, Transparency and Enforcement Act, which has royal assent. This has given the government new powers to act in the public interest and immediately designate individuals and entities under an urgent procedure, while evidence is gathered to sanction them under our own standard procedure. Russian oligarchs now subject to UK sanctions include Mikhail Friedman, Peter Avon, German Khan. The oligarchs who will be sanctioned today have a combined estimated worth of more than £100 billion. That's their estimated net worth based on Forbes. Putin's political allies now sanctioned include Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, and former President of Russia Dmitry Medvedev. Meanwhile, Russian propagandists who have been designated include Putin's press secretary Dmitry Peskov and Russian Foreign Affairs spokeswoman Maria Zakharova, among others. A notorious internet troll farm, the Internet Research Agency, has also been sanctioned. Elon Musk has also thrown his weight behind the sanction as he had been supporting Ukraine. Musk has regularly been using Twitter to take a stand as Russia wages war on Ukraine. On Saturday, he wrote, "Starlink has been told by some governments, not Ukraine, to block Russian news sources. We will not do so unless at gunpoint. Sorry to be a free speech absolutist." At a time when the West is still trying to find means to stop Moscow, Elon Musk on Saturday called for the U.S. to increase oil supplies to reduce Russia's dependence. Interestingly, the billionaire businessman has been an advocate of clean energy. And so the ban on Russian oil would be painful for the UK and Europe. The UK will phase out imports of Russian oil in response to Vladimir Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine by the end of the year, Business Secretary Kwasi Kwarteng has confirmed today. The phasing out of imports will not be immediate, but instead allows the UK more than enough time to adjust supply chains, supporting industry and consumers. The government will work with companies through a new task force on oil to support them to make use of this period in finding alternative supplies. The UK is working closely with the U.S., the EU, and other partners to end our dependence on Russian hydrocarbons in response to Russian aggression in Ukraine, recognizing the different circumstances and transition timelines. The import of Russian oil makes up 44% of Russian exports and 17% of federal government revenue through taxation. This move steps up the international pressure on Russia's economy. In a competitive global market for oil and petroleum products, demand can be met by alternative suppliers. We will work closely with international partners to ensure alternative supplies of fuel products. Russian imports account for 8% of total UK oil demand, but the UK is also a significant producer of both crude oil and petroleum products, in addition to imports from a diverse range of reliable suppliers beyond Russia, including the Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, and the USA. This, of course, would hurt the UK, and Elon Musk has called for banning Russian oil, a move that could trigger an energy crisis in the West. But how does this end for the UK and the EU? Be sure to check out our next video.